Hey guys, I thought I would show you how I use the Bind It All tool to make a journal. This is the Bind It All version 2.0. The only difference between 1.0 and 2.0 is that this one is pink, the other one is blue, which is just silly. And the company that makes them is Zutter. And this costs, I think the retail price is about 80 bucks, but you can usually get them on sale for about 50, and you could probably find them less than that on eBay. I would definitely recommend checking for that before you go. How this works is, I don't know if you'll be able to see this. In here we have the different possible sizes measured, and we use these things are called O-ring binding coils. Okay, so the way that these work is it is done by how many of the coils per inch there are, and so the size on this one is, it's a 2-to-1 pitch, which means that there are 2 of these little loops per inch. So you can kind of see on the ruler that on every inch there are 2 of these. You want to be careful when you buy them somewhere other than the Zutter website, because there are also 3-to-1 pitch, which are a little bit smaller, so you want to make sure you get the right ones. And if you do buy a Bind It All, I definitely recommend shopping for these elsewhere because they're less expensive. I buy the coils from professionalbinding.com, and it works out to be a lot cheaper to buy them from that company. But the machine I bought from the Zutter website, because I got it on sale for Christmas time, and since Christmas is coming, they'll probably be on sale again. And so if you already have the machine, forgive me doing a little introduction. If you don't, this will tell you a little bit about it. This moves, and you can set it to whatever size. And so basically, to tell, you take this in here and just go until it's on the right size. So these are 1 inch, so I actually want to go back a little bit. And I am right now on the 1 inch line, so it's just the right size. And you can basically do half the size of these for how much paper. So this stack is ready to go. And it is it's just under ½ inch thick. You could do, if it's 1 inch coils, which these are, then you could do ½ inch thick paper. So I could do this a little bit thicker. I prefer to do it a little under thick, so that, like, this is actually a journal that I'm making for an order, actually for Adriana. So this is your journal. And what happens is that when people do art journaling, it gets thicker, so you want to leave a little extra room. And you don't want to overfill it, because then you can't flip the pages, and that is a real pain. And to punch, this goes forward, and then here it punches. So you can tell exactly where the holes are going to punch, because there are these little squares right here. And then you have different options over here. I always leave it on the same setting. I don't switch it, so I have it on C. But you can change, like, open, continuous, cover, inner pages. I always leave it on cover. It just seems to work better for me that way. I don't want the cover to overhang. I want it to all be the same size. And then this is paper guide, if I can get it out. So if you are trying to, like, line up your pages specifically, this will help. I don't actually use this though. What I do is I line it up here or here. And so before I start punching, I'm going to show you what I'm punching. Just move this out of the way for a second. Okay, this is my stack. This is ready to go. I make them up in advance, use a big binder clip. I make the covers out of cardstock. Chipboard. Make the covers out of chipboard, and I believe that it's 0.022 thick. I'll double check that, and I'll put the information. And then I just make my inclusions. So this is already ready to go. I'll flip through it so you can kind of see, like, I just periodically touch it, make sure it feels kind of balanced, so that there's, like, just as thick here as here. And then I just add, like, I have a little envelope, graph paper. This is a funny vintage photograph. Some wallpaper, or watercolor paper. This is a page from a vintage dictionary, which I think is French. Some cardstock. So I basically look at every spread and decide if I like it. So here's a spread. So we have this, this, and this. Then you can flip here. So that every spread is interesting. Like there's something about it that I like. Sometimes it's plain, sometimes it's printed. There's little pages, big pages. More of those. These are some shipping tags. So as long as you have like some sort of balance between your things, it doesn't really matter how you do it. But one thing you want to keep in mind is that when you're punching, it's going to be this big. So like doing something that's little here isn't going to work necessarily, because you might not be able to have a hole here and here, so you either want it at the top or the bottom. And that's something you kind of experiment as you go. So you get the sense of it. And then the last thing I want to show you before I start punching. So this is already kind of planned out, doesn't have to be exact. This is a little pocket, and how I make this, I take, this is a 12 by 12 sheet, I fold this down, and it's probably, I probably did measure it, I can't remember the exact measurements. It is just over 7.5, so I'm folding down just over 4 inches. I guess I probably didn't measure it then, I just eyeballed it. So you fold it in half, and then you're going to punch it here, and you have 2 little pockets on both sides. And I always put one of these in the back, because then if you have random stuff you can throw it in, and then I have the little envelope in the front for tiny stuff. So I have the page all planned out. Now we have to punch. Punching can be kind of confusing, and hopefully I don't mess it up, because I do mess them up periodically. The first thing is we want to get our wires, and so how we're going to punch this journal, we're not going to punch, like you could punch it the whole way down and then have this the whole way down. And if you really want to do that, more power to you, but I find that is way too complicated for me to make without messing them up. So I punch one chunk at the top, one chunk at the bottom, so that I end up with 6 holes at the top, 6 holes at the bottom, and then I don't even do the middle. And that's, if you see journals that are made like that, and if you've ever wondered why, that's why they do it, because it's a lot easier to do it this way rather than to try to line up a whole row of the holes. That's a little more complicated and way beyond what I want to do. So I know I need 6 and 6, so, and I know that this is the right size already. So we have 6 and 6, and we're going to use these R wire cutters. Double check, make sure we're doing it right. And I cut right in the middle so that I have 2 little pieces. I don't cut off these little pieces unless like they're really pointy, and then I might trim them at the end. So we have our 2 little chunks. So you want to have those ready to go. And then, most important step that is easy to forget, you want to flip the back cover around to the front. It would be more important if you're decorating these covers first. Mine are plain, so it doesn't matter as much, but if they're decorated, you definitely don't want to forget to do this. So you flip it over. So you have both covers around the front. And now we're going to start punching. So I'm going to start with the 2 covers. And this is kind of the fussy part. You want to have it all ready to go. Okay. I line it up so that one edge lines up with the side. Hold it in place with my thumb and then push it the whole way down, and it's kind of takes a little effort. You need a little muscle to do it. So there we go. You want to make sure that it is pushed the whole way down, otherwise you will mess up your cover, and that's always the most annoying part. So hold it down, lined up. There you go. That's the hardest punch. Now you can punch a few pages at a time. I usually try to make sure that there is a full page with all the inclusions, and then I put it like this. It's about 1.5 inches maybe line it up, and I check to make sure that the stuff I am including is going to have enough holes to keep it in place. It does not have to be perfect, but you want to do your best. Line them up. And the reason I'm keeping the cover up here is because now I'm going to use it as a guide. And when I put this in, let's see if we can see better. I want to make sure that these holes line up with those. And I want to keep it all held together very well. Don't worry if one side slides out. Not such a big deal. So there we go. And now we're going to do the other side. The most important is to make sure that everything is lined up. I guess we only actually need one of these. You could actually make a guide, but I usually just use the cover because it works. It's sturdy enough, it holds up. Okay, put it in, line it up. Okay, so now we're going to every time we put one down, we're going to flip it like that. And you don't want to put these on until the end. So just, we're going to take it from here, punch it, flip it. So I'm just going to work on doing these. It's important to keep these lined up as you go, because if you don't, you won't be able to put the journal together. Okay, so all of my pages are punched. A couple of these fell out, so I'll figure out where they're going to go. And I'm going to put the cover back on the front. Hopefully I didn't twist it around. And now we're going to put the rings on. You want this part, see how one part is like has the connected and one part's not connected? The connected part is going to go next to the cardstock like that. And now we're just going to flip and start adding the pieces in. And while I do this, I check to see if anything got punched so that it's not going to be secure. Oops. And if you did this right, everything will line up perfectly. If you find pages that don't, you could just ditch them, find another page to replace it. So here's one that kind of got off punched a little bit. So what I'll do is I'll put it in and I'll decide if it's secure enough. And it's not too bad. And what I'm going to do now is just change the size a little. You could re-punch a whole page if you wanted to. I think this works. It's a mixed media journal, so the pages are all off anyway. Okay, so we have all of the pages are added in here. And now we need to do the binding. We've already set it so that it's at the 1 inch. And the binding part is pretty easy. You're going to move it so that the pages are in the middle of this wire here. So it looks like that. And you're going to put it so that the one with the connected pieces is facing this guy. So it goes like this. I had it backwards. And now you're going to push the handle all the way down. And that's why you want to set the size before you do this, so that you aren't going to make them the wrong size. So we have it like that. Okay. I usually go over them just to make sure. Alright, so now this is why doing the cover was important. Flip the back cover here. Takes a little wiggling. And what this does is in the back now, this part, the join part, is hidden by the back cover. And we're all done. Here is Adriana's journal. And we can just flip and see some of the random pages, and you see like it will lay flat. And there are all different pages, different materials used in here. Plenty of room. Hopefully, Adriana, you will find it very inspiring and have fun with it. So there we go. That's the mixed media journals that I make with the Zutter Bind It All. And you could also make plain journals, of course, but it's actually better to do a few pages at a time rather than a big chunk like I just did, because it works a little better. Okay, there we go. Adriana, I will have this in the mail for you today. So hopefully you will get it within a few days. It's going to go priority mail. And everybody else, maybe you will make your own, or you can check out my Etsy shop too. I have them listed there. Okay.